Why do some businesses thrive in crowded markets, while others, equally talented, vanish without a trace? The answer is not found in passion, funding, or even a superior product alone. The decisive factor is strategy. Not a vague mission statement, but a sharp, deliberate plan of action designed to carve out a unique and defensible space in the marketplace. It is the art of understanding the very structure of your industry and positioning your enterprise so precisely that the forces of competition work for you, not against you. This volume is your masterclass in that art. It is the tactical playbook for defining your market, understanding the competitive landscape, and building an unassailable edge that leads to long-term industry dominance. It is time to stop competing and start commanding. Porter's Edge: How to Define Your Market and Dominate the Competition, written and published by Success Attraction Formula. Chapter 1: Analyzing Industry Forces for Strategic Advantage. Imagine you are the captain of a ship about to set sail on a vast, uncharted ocean. Would you simply point your vessel toward a distant star and hope for the best, trusting in the strength of your hull and the skill of your crew alone? Or would you first seek to understand the powerful, unseen forces that will govern your journey, the prevailing winds that can speed your passage or drive you into ruin, the hidden currents that can pull you off course, the treacherous reefs lurking just beneath the surface, and the potential for violent storms on the horizon? Of course, any sane captain would choose the latter. A deep understanding of the environment is paramount to survival, let alone a successful voyage. Yet, in the equally perilous ocean of business, countless leaders set sail with only their most obvious competitor in sight. They are so focused on the rival ship on their port side that they fail to notice the massive whirlpool forming ahead or the rising tide that threatens to beach them on shores of irrelevance. They are locked in a one-on-one duel, unaware that the entire arena is shifting beneath their feet, ready to swallow them whole. This singular, myopic focus is the most common and most fatal flaw in strategic thinking. It leads to a cascade of reactive, short-sighted decisions, to ruinous price wars that benefit no one, and to a constant state of anxiety as unexpected threats emerge from seemingly nowhere, leaving the unprepared enterprise capsized and sinking, while its leaders wonder what went wrong. The transformative solution, the only true path to navigating these treacherous waters, is to develop what can only be described as 360-degree strategic vision. It is the ability to lift your gaze from the immediate foe and see the entire seascape, comprehending the complete architecture of your industry. This is not some mystical act of fortune-telling or predicting the future. It is the disciplined, rational practice of understanding the fundamental pressures that are active in your market at all times. By mastering this perspective, you cease being a passive participant tossed about by the waves of competition and become the master navigator who anticipates, adapts, and even harnesses those very forces to propel your enterprise forward with speed and purpose. You will learn to see threats long before they materialize, giving you precious time to prepare your defenses. You will identify calm, profitable pockets of opportunity that are completely invisible to your reactive rivals. You will build a strategy that is not brittle and fragile, but resilient and powerful, because it is based on the deep structural realities of your market, not on fleeting trends or the latest desperate moves of a single competitor. This panoramic vision is the true foundation of a defensible strategic advantage, turning the chaos of the market into a predictable map and turning your vulnerability into enduring power. This comprehensive understanding is built upon the rigorous analysis of 5 fundamental forces that shape the competitive landscape of every industry without exception. The first and most intuitive of these is the threat of new entrants. Every market has barriers to entry, which can be thought of as defensive walls of varying heights that protect the existing players. In some industries, like opening a local coffee shop or an online t-shirt store, these barriers are frustratingly low. The capital required is minimal, the necessary skills are widespread, and the regulations are few. This means new competitors can and do enter the market with ease, which inevitably drives down prices and fragments profitability for everyone involved. In other industries, such as aerospace engineering, semiconductor manufacturing, or pharmaceutical development, the barriers are immense, forming a nearly impenetrable fortress. These fields require massive initial capital investment, decades of specialized knowledge, proprietary technology protected by patents, and labyrinthine regulatory approvals. To gain a strategic advantage, you must first accurately assess the height and nature of these walls in your own industry. Then, your mission is to actively work to build them higher around your own enterprise. This is achieved not by wishing for less competition, but by taking concrete actions. You can cultivate fierce brand loyalty through exceptional quality and marketing, making it expensive and time-consuming for a newcomer to win over your customers. You can achieve economies of scale so that your cost per unit is significantly lower than what any new smaller entrant could possibly achieve. You can secure patents on your technology, control essential distribution channels, or create high switching costs that lock in your customers. The stronger your fortress, the less you will have to worry about new armies invading your territory and stealing your treasure. The second force, which exerts a constant pressure on your profitability, is the bargaining power of buyers. Your customers are not passive recipients of your product. They hold a certain power over you, and your strategy must account for this. This power dynamic becomes most dangerous when your customer base is highly concentrated. If you are a B2B company and a single corporate client accounts for 70% of your annual revenue, their power over you is immense. They are in a position to demand lower prices, higher quality, more lenient payment terms, and additional services, all of which squeeze your margins and drain your resources. In contrast, if you are a consumer brand serving millions of individual customers, the power of any single buyer is negligible. The departure of one customer is insignificant. A winning strategy, therefore, must always seek to diminish the excessive bargaining power of buyers. The most potent tool for this is differentiation. By making your product so unique, so valuable, and so integral to your customers' success or happiness, you reduce their ability and willingness to be price-sensitive. You give them a reason to choose you that transcends mere cost. Another powerful tactic is to create switching costs. This means making it costly, time-consuming, or inconvenient for a customer to leave your product for a competitor's. This could be through proprietary technology that integrates deeply with their operations, through loyalty programs that reward tenure, or through building strong personal relationships. The ultimate goal is to shift the dependency, making your customers reliant on your unique value rather than allowing your enterprise to be held hostage by their demands. Third, we must turn our analytical lens inward and analyze the bargaining power of suppliers. Just as powerful buyers can squeeze you from one direction, powerful suppliers can exert pressure from the other. The companies that provide you with raw materials, essential components, or critical services hold the power to raise their prices or reduce the quality of their goods, which directly increases your costs and threatens the quality of your own final product. This danger is most acute when you rely on a single, highly specialized supplier for a critical input, or when the supplier's industry is more concentrated than your own. To counter this threat, a shrewd strategist will actively work to reduce supplier power. The most direct approach is to diversify your sources, purposefully finding and qualifying multiple suppliers for key inputs to avoid over-reliance on any single one. You can also work to standardize parts and components, making your suppliers more interchangeable and reducing the power of any proprietary design. For larger enterprises, a more aggressive move is backward integration, which involves acquiring or creating the internal capacity to produce the inputs yourself, effectively becoming your own supplier. You must diligently manage and control your supply chain, for if you do not, your suppliers will inevitably control you, and your dreams of market dominance will be held captive by their pricing and production decisions. The fourth force is the subtle yet powerful threat of substitute products or services. It is crucial to understand that a substitute is not a direct competitor selling a similar product. It is an entirely different product or service that fulfills the same underlying customer need. For the airline industry, high-speed trains and more profoundly, video conferencing software are powerful substitutes for corporate business travel. For a local movie theater, substitutes include not just other theaters, but at-home streaming services, video games, and even restaurants or live sporting events, anything that competes for a customer's night-out entertainment budget. The existence of viable substitutes places a hard ceiling on how much you can charge for your product and limits the overall profit potential of an entire industry. Your strategic task is twofold. First, you must have the vision to recognize and respect the substitutes that exist in your market, even if they look nothing like your own offering. Second, you must ensure that your product or service offers a clearly superior and differentiated value proposition compared to those substitutes. You must continuously innovate, enhance quality, build your brand, and clearly communicate the unique benefits of your solution, giving your customers compelling reasons to choose your specific offering over any other alternative way of meeting their fundamental need. Finally, we arrive at the fifth force, the one that occupies the minds of most managers, the intensity of rivalry among existing competitors. This is the force of direct, head-to-head combat for customers and market share. This rivalry tends to be most intense when an industry is populated by numerous competitors of similar size and power, when industry growth is slow, forcing companies to fight for existing share rather than new growth, and most importantly, when products are undifferentiated, making customers see them as commodities. In such an environment, competition often degenerates into mutually destructive price wars, massive advertising battles, and costly feature escalations that erode profitability for everyone. To master this force, you must have the discipline to avoid the trap of competing on price alone. Your strategy should instead focus on creating meaningful differentiation that insulates you from direct rivalry. This involves building a powerful brand, innovating in ways that are difficult to copy, and often focusing on a specific segment of the market, a niche, that you can serve better than any broad-range competitor. The ultimate aim is not to obliterate your rivals, but to make their strategic moves less relevant to your success by creating a loyal customer base that is steadfastly dedicated to the unique value that only you can provide. By systematically understanding all five of these forces, you gain your captain's map, a complete and dynamic blueprint for strategic action that allows you to position your enterprise for safe passage and enduring success. Now that you have this map of the entire competitive landscape, a crucial and profound question arises. Knowing the terrain is one thing, but where exactly on that map should you plant your flag? What if understanding the forces is not enough? What if the key to victory lies not just in knowing the forces, but in choosing the single perfect position on the battlefield where those forces can no longer harm you and may even be turned to your advantage? In our next chapter, we will uncover how to identify and claim that unique, powerful position. Remember to subscribe to Success Attraction Formula, give this video a like, and comment with your personal opinions or suggestions for channel development. Chapter 2. Positioning for competitive edge in the market. In the grand war for market dominance, the ultimate goal is not to win every single battle through sheer force. It is to make the very battles you choose to fight fundamentally unwinnable for your opponent. This highest form of strategic victory is not achieved through marginally greater force, more aggressive tactics, or even more abundant resources. It is achieved through the quiet, deliberate, and profound art of superior positioning. Positioning is the act of placing your enterprise in a location within your market so unique and so valuable to a specific set of customers that direct competition becomes almost irrelevant. It is about consciously creating a space where you are not just another option, but the only logical choice. When you are correctly positioned, customers seek you out specifically for what you alone can provide, and rivals find it difficult, costly, or simply nonsensical to attack you head-on. This is the very essence of a powerful and sustainable competitive edge, and it is the single most important strategic decision you will ever make. It represents the crucial difference between being one of many anonymous voices in a crowded, noisy chorus and being the revered solo artist that everyone in the audience has paid to see. Yet, Despite its critical importance, most businesses stumble directly into the most dangerous and crowded trap in all of strategy, the Me Too death spiral. They operate from a place of fear and imitation rather than vision and creation. They see a successful competitor and their immediate, deeply ingrained instinct is to copy whatever they are doing. A rival launches a product with a new feature, so they scramble their engineering teams to match it. A competitor lowers their price by 5%, so they immediately lower theirs by 6%. A rival opens a new location, so they rush to open one right across the street. They become hopelessly locked in a reactive game of imitation, a frantic race to the bottom where the only thing that erodes faster than the meaningful differences between them is their own profitability. In this red ocean of endless, bloody, and pointless competition, the customer becomes utterly unable to distinguish one company from another. They all seem to offer the same things in the same way. When this happens, Ostomer's choice inevitably defaults to the only factor that remains clear and distinct: price. This is not a strategy for victory or leadership. It is a shared, joyless march toward industry-wide mediocrity, and for many, ultimate extinction. To compete in this way is to willingly surrender your destiny, your profitability, and your very identity into the hands of your rivals. The transformative solution requires a radical shift in mindset. You must consciously and deliberately reject the futile game of imitation and instead begin the profound work of creation. You must create a unique and defensible position in the market. This means defining a clear, specific value proposition that sets you apart from everyone else, and then dedicating your entire organization, every process, and every employee to delivering on that singular promise with unwavering consistency. Positioning is not about being incrementally better at what everyone else is already doing. It is about being the only one who does what you do in the way that you do it. This pursuit requires immense courage. It demands the courage to be different, the courage to ignore certain trends, and the courage to say no to certain customers and apparent opportunities so that you can say a powerful and focused yes to the right ones. It is about strategically carving out a piece of the market and making it so completely your own that potential competitors conclude that the space is already taken and that attacking it would be a foolish waste of their resources. This deliberate shift from reactive imitation to proactive creation is the pivotal moment when a business stops merely surviving the waves of competition and starts commanding them on its journey toward true and lasting market leadership. The foundation of a strong, unassailable position is built upon 4 essential and interconnected pillars. The first, and most crucial, is defining a crystal-clear value proposition. You must be able to state in a single, compelling sentence the unique value and specific outcome you offer to your customers. Are you the fastest, the most convenient, the most luxurious, the most reliable, the most durable, or the most innovative? This cannot be a vague, aspirational slogan. It must be a tangible, provable reality that is reflected in every aspect of your products and services. Consider a car manufacturer. One might position itself as the pinnacle of family safety, engineering every component with that single goal in mind and communicating that promise in all its marketing. Another might position itself as the ultimate in high-performance driving pleasure, prioritizing speed, handling, and engine sound above all else. Neither position is inherently better than the other, but both are clear, powerful, and distinct. Without this foundational clarity, you are just another car on the lot, forced to compete on price and features alone. Your value proposition is the core promise you make to your customers. It is the fundamental reason they should choose you over all other options. The second pillar is the rigorous and disciplined identification of your target audience. The fatal strategic error is attempting to be all things to all people. When you cast your net too wide in an effort to serve everyone, you end up serving no one particularly well. A powerful strategy demands that you choose your customer with surgical precision. Who is the ideal recipient of the unique value you have chosen to provide? You must define them with immense clarity: their demographics, their psychographics, their needs, their values, their aspirations, and their deepest pain points. An airline that positions itself as the absolute lowest cost, No-frills option is not targeting the corporate executive who demands a lie-flat bed and lounge access. It is explicitly and exclusively targeting the budget-conscious student or the family for whom a low fare is the single most important factor. By focusing all its efforts on this specific segment, it can tailor every aspect of its operation, from its simple online booking process to its policy of charging for all extras, to meet their needs perfectly and far more efficiently than a legacy carrier that must bear the cost of trying to cater to everyone. Choosing your customer gives you immense focus and allows you to become the absolute best solution for a specific group of people, who will in turn become your most loyal customers and most vocal advocates. The third pillar involves the meticulous analysis and deliberate configuration of your value chain. A value chain is the complete sequence of all the activities your enterprise performs to design, produce, market, deliver, and support your product. This includes primary activities like inbound logistics, operations, outbound logistics, marketing and sales, and customer service, as well as support activities like technology development, human resource management, and procurement. Your unique position is not just a marketing slogan. It must be deeply rooted in the reality of what you actually do every single day. You must examine every single link in your value chain and ask the critical question: how does this activity reinforce our unique value proposition and serve our target customer? The low-cost airline, for example, makes a series of highly consistent choices in its value chain that are entirely different from those of a luxury airline. It uses only one type of aircraft to simplify maintenance and training. It flies into less congested secondary airports where landing fees are lower. It offers no pre-assigned seating to speed up turnaround times at the gate. Every single one of these decisions reinforces its low-cost position. A luxury brand, in stark contrast, will invest heavily in premium raw materials, artisanal craftsmanship, a high-touch retail experience, and lavish post-purchase support. Your strategic position is nothing more than the sum of these thousands of trade-offs and deliberate choices you make in configuring your value chain. The fourth and final pillar is to relentlessly and coherently communicate your position to the world. Once you have defined your unique value, chosen your specific customer, and aligned all your internal activities, you must ensure that your target market knows exactly who you are and what you stand for. Your branding, your advertising, your website design, your social media presence, your packaging, and every single interaction a customer has with your company must consistently and powerfully reinforce your unique position. Inconsistency is the enemy of a strong position. It breeds confusion and undermines the trust you are trying to build. If you are positioned as the most innovative and cutting-edge technology company, your product launches must be exciting, future-focused events that showcase genuinely groundbreaking features. If you are positioned as the most trusted and conservative financial advisor, your communications must be sober, professional, data-driven, and reassuring. This consistency must also be internal. Every employee must understand and believe in the company's position for it to be projected authentically to the outside world. When your message is clear, and every action you take backs it up, you build a powerful and indelible brand identity in the minds of your customers, making your position not only unique but truly unforgettable. This unwavering consistency is what turns a simple strategic choice into a dominant and profitable market reality. You have now learned how to map your industry and how to choose a unique, defensible position within it. But how is such a unique position truly built and sustained at the most fundamental level? It all boils down to one of two primary paths, two grand strategies that have defined every truly successful enterprise in the history of commerce. It is a profound choice between becoming the undisputed master of cost or the unrivaled champion of value. Which path will you choose, and how will that singular decision shape every single action your enterprise takes from this day forward? Our next chapter will illuminate these two primary roads to dominance, providing the clarity you need to make the most important choice of your strategic life. Remember to subscribe to Success Attraction Formula, give this video a like, and comment with your personal opinions or suggestions for channel development. Chapter 3. Cost leadership versus differentiation strategies. Imagine two master swordsmiths, each seeking to dominate the market for fine blades in a bustling kingdom. The first smith dedicates his entire life to perfecting his process. He builds a revolutionary new type of forge that consumes less fuel. He travels to the mountains and negotiates a deal to purchase iron ore in enormous quantities, securing a price no rival can match. He breaks down the complex art of sword making into a series of simple, repeatable steps and trains his apprentices to execute them with hyper-efficient precision. His singular, obsessive goal is to create a strong, reliable, and perfectly functional sword for the absolute lowest possible cost, allowing him to affordably equip the king's entire army and every town guard in the realm. The second smith takes a fundamentally different path. He embarks on a perilous journey to find a fallen star. Believing the mythical metal within it will create an unbreakable edge, he spends months meticulously hand-forging a single blade, folding the metal upon itself hundreds of times. He hires the finest artisan to engrave intricate designs along its length and sets the hilt with rare jewels. His goal is not to arm an army, but to create a one-of-a-kind masterpiece, a legendary sword fit for a king, for which price is no object. Both of these men are masters of their craft, and both can achieve immense success and market dominance. But their fundamental strategies, their core philosophies, their very paths to power are polar opposites. This is the ultimate strategic choice that every enterprise, including yours, must inevitably face. The greatest and most common tragedy in the world of business strategy is not choosing the wrong path. It is the paralyzing failure to choose a path at all. This is the perilous, no man's land known as being stuck in the middle. A business that finds itself in this position is a creature of compromise and confusion. It tries to be all things to all people, and as a result, it is nothing special to anyone. It wants to offer unique features and a premium brand image, but it also feels intense pressure to keep its prices low to compete with more efficient rivals. It invests a little in research and development, but not enough to be a true innovator. It implements a few cost-saving measures, but fails to commit to the rigorous discipline of a true cost leader. The result is a tragically predictable and painful failure. Their product is not nearly cheap enough to attract the most price-sensitive buyers who will flock to the true cost leader. Nor is it special enough in its quality, features, or brand to command a premium from those who seek value and are willing to pay for it. They are left with a mediocre product at a muddled, uncompetitive price point, and they are acutely vulnerable to attack from all sides of the market. The low-cost competitors will undercut them on price, while the premium differentiators will outclass them on quality and features. Being stuck in the middle is the strategic equivalent of being stranded in the middle of an open battlefield, with no fortress walls and no elite soldiers, a guaranteed casualty in the relentless war for market leadership. The only way to avoid this dismal fate is through the transformative power of a decisive, courageous, and unwavering choice. You must choose to be one of the two masters. You must become either the undisputed master of cost or the unrivaled champion of value. This is not a casual preference or a slogan to be painted on the wall. It is a fundamental, all-encompassing commitment that must inform every single decision, every process, every system, and every new hire within your organization from that moment forward. The swordsmith aiming for low cost cannot afford to spend months on elaborate, artistic engravings. The smith creating a legendary blade for a king cannot use the cheapest available steel. This radical, organization-wide clarity is the ultimate source of all strategic power. It provides a clear and constant compass for your entire enterprise, eliminating internal confusion, resolving debates, and focusing all your collective energy and precious resources on a single, coherent, and achievable goal. When you finally make this choice with conviction, you stop competing with everyone, and you start building a finely tuned system that is perfectly and uniquely designed to win in a very specific and powerful way. This deep commitment is the powerful engine that drives a truly dominant business strategy. Let us first walk the path of cost leadership. The goal here is simple, absolute, and relentless: to achieve the lowest production and distribution costs in your industry relative to your competitors. This powerful advantage allows you to pursue one of two profitable strategies. You can either charge lower prices than your rivals to capture a larger share of the market, or you can charge the industry average price and thereby earn a significantly higher profit margin on each and every sale. It is crucial to understand that this is not about being cheap in a negative sense of low quality. It is about being supremely and brilliantly efficient. A true cost leader is obsessed with achieving economies of scale, constantly seeking to increase volume to drive down the cost per unit. They invest heavily and continuously in process innovation, automation, and technology to streamline their operations and eliminate every ounce of waste. They wield their purchasing power like a weapon, negotiating the lowest possible prices from their suppliers. And they maintain a culture of extreme frugality and tight overhead control, scrutinizing every expense no matter how small. A classic example is a massive retailer whose entire global business model, from its immense, data-driven logistical network to its powerful, centralized supplier negotiations, is a masterclass in driving down costs to deliver on its core promise of everyday low prices. The risks of this strategy are significant. New technology can render your efficient processes obsolete overnight. A determined competitor might discover an even cheaper way to operate, and a relentless focus on cost can sometimes lead to a market perception of lower quality, which can become a dangerous vulnerability if a competitor offers a slightly better product for a slightly higher price. The second and equally powerful path is that of differentiation. Here, the goal is not to be the cheapest, but to be perceived by customers as entirely unique. A differentiator seeks to offer a product or service that stands out from the competition as having a distinct and superior value in some key dimension. This uniqueness can be based on the product's actual design, its brand image and story, its proprietary technology, its innovative features, its exceptional durability, or its level of responsive customer service. Because of this perceived uniqueness, a successful differentiator can command a premium price, well above the industry average. Think of a luxury watchmaker like Rolex, a design-focused technology company like Apple, or a premium coffee retailer like Starbucks. Customers are not buying these products simply for their basic function. They are willingly paying a premium for the superior design, the status of the brand, the quality of the experience, and the sense of belonging to an exclusive group. A differentiator must invest heavily in the things that create that uniqueness: world-class research and development, brilliant and creative marketing, and the meticulous crafting of a powerful brand narrative. The entire organization, from engineering to sales, must be aligned around creating and communicating this uniqueness. The primary risks for a differentiator are imitation by competitors who can copy key features and the unpredictability of changing customer tastes. Furthermore, what was once unique can become commonplace over time, eroding the very basis of differentiation, and the price premium itself must be carefully managed. If it becomes too large for customers to justify, they will abandon the brand for good enough, lower-cost alternatives. Both of these paths can lead to extraordinary, long-term success, but they demand profoundly different cultures, different skill sets, different metrics for success, and different organizational structures. A cost leadership firm is typically lean, highly disciplined, process-oriented, and data-driven. A differentiation firm is often more creative, agile, innovative, and marketing-focused. The most critical insight to grasp is that the underlying logic of these two fundamental strategies is in direct and constant conflict. The activities required to create a low-cost position, standardization, tight control, efficiency above all, are fundamentally different from, and often directly at odds with, the activities required to create a differentiated one: creativity, experimentation, investment in premium inputs. To attempt to do both simultaneously is to invite internal conflict, strategic confusion, resource dilution, and ultimate failure. You must choose your path. You must embrace the necessary and difficult trade-offs that come with that choice. And then, you must dedicate your entire enterprise to walking that chosen path with relentless consistency and unwavering commitment. You have now chosen your fundamental strategic path, the grand and defining choice between cost and value. But a choice, however profound, is merely a starting point. It is an arrow pointing in a direction, not the journey itself. How do you transform that fundamental decision, that deep commitment to one of the two masters, into a living, breathing strategy that permeates every single corner of your organization? How do you design a set of activities and processes so unique and so perfectly interconnected that it becomes your company's very DNA, a complex system that is impossible for any rival to fully understand or replicate? The answer lies in the art of crafting a truly unique activity system, the architectural blueprint of dominance, which we will construct together in the next chapter. Remember to subscribe to Success Attraction Formula, give this video a like, and comment with your personal opinions or suggestions for channel development. Chapter 4. Developing and implementing a unique strategy. Imagine a brilliant architect who spends months designing the perfect blueprint for a magnificent skyscraper. The design is a work of genius, featuring breathtaking aesthetics, unparalleled structural integrity, and innovative use of space. The blueprint itself is flawless, but what is its value if it remains a rolled-up piece of paper in a dusty corner? Without a master builder, without a detailed construction plan, and without a dedicated team that knows how every single steel beam connects, how every wire is run, and how every pane of glass fits into the grand design, the skyscraper will never be more than a dream. The blueprint alone cannot house a single person or support a single floor. This is the exact position so many businesses find themselves in. They have a strategy, often crafted at great expense and presented in a beautiful slideshow, but it remains a document, an abstract idea, completely disconnected from the real, tangible, daily work of the organization. This chasm between what is planned and what is done is the great silent killer of most strategic efforts. It is the strategy execution gap. This gap doesn't appear by accident. It is the natural result of organizational inertia. Leaders announce a new direction with great fanfare, perhaps a pivot to become the most customer-centric company or the most innovative player in the industry. Employees nod along in the meeting, but the next day they return to their desks and continue doing their jobs in the exact same way they always have, because the systems surrounding them demand it. The marketing department is still incentivized on lead quantity, not quality. The finance department still approves budgets based on last year's numbers, not the new strategic priorities. The sales team's compensation plan still rewards pushing any product, not the specific high-value solutions that fit the new strategy. Each department, operating rationally within its own silo, inadvertently works against the grand vision. The result is a profound sense of disillusionment. Leaders become frustrated that their plans are not materializing, while employees become cynical, viewing strategy as just another buzzword from headquarters that has no real bearing on their work. The organization remains stuck, its immense potential dissipated by a lack of connection between its vision and its actions. The transformative solution is to fundamentally change how you view strategy itself. You must stop seeing strategy as a document you write and start seeing it as a living system you build. A truly powerful strategy is not a statement. It is a complex, interlocking system of activities where every single action the company takes reinforces every other action and the overall strategic position. It is about creating a perfect, harmonious fit among all the things you do. When you achieve this, your strategy is no longer just an idea. It is embedded in the very DNA of your organization. It becomes the invisible hand that guides every decision, from the boardroom to the front lines. This is where a competitive advantage becomes real, and more importantly, difficult for rivals to replicate. They might be able to copy one or two of your visible activities, your pricing, your store design, but they cannot easily replicate the entire intricate system of mutually reinforcing parts. The whole becomes far greater and far stronger than the simple sum of its parts. This system is your strategy made manifest. Building this unique activity system begins with identifying your core activities. Based on the strategic position you chose in the previous chapters, whether it be low cost or differentiation, you must identify the 5 to 10 most critical activities that allow you to deliver that unique value to your target customer. These are not generic business functions. They are the specific things you must do exceptionally well to win. For a low-cost airline, these core activities would include using a single aircraft type, flying to secondary airports, offering no-frills service, achieving rapid gate turnaround times, and utilizing a direct, online-only booking system. For a differentiator like a high-end management consultancy, core activities would include recruiting from a handful of elite universities, developing proprietary industry research, fostering deep, long-term client relationships through a partner-led model, and maintaining a premium brand image through publications and speaking engagements. The first step is to be brutally honest and clear about what these core value-creating activities truly are for your enterprise, as they will form the central hubs of your strategic map. Once you have identified these core activities, the next and most critical step is to map the linkages between them. How do they connect and reinforce one another? This is where the magic happens, elevating strategy from a mere list to a powerful system. Let us return to our low-cost airline. Using a single aircraft type, Activity 1 drastically simplifies maintenance, crew training, and spare parts inventory, which directly lowers costs. This reinforces offering no-frills service, Activity 2, as there is no need for complex galleys or varied seating arrangements, which in turn reduces aircraft weight and fuel burn. The no-frills service, in turn, allows for faster cleaning and boarding, which is essential for achieving rapid gate turnaround times, Activity 3. Rapid turnarounds mean that each expensive aircraft can fly more routes per day, which is known as high aircraft utilization, Activity 4, a key driver of profitability. This high utilization spreads the massive fixed cost of the airplane over more flights, dramatically lowering the cost per seat per flight. This low cost then enables the direct, online-only booking system, Activity 5, as it attracts price-sensitive customers who are comfortable with self-service. Notice how each activity makes the others easier or cheaper to perform. This creates a virtuous cycle, a chain reaction of efficiency, where the entire system is more valuable than any single part. With the system mapped, the third step is to actively strengthen the fit and make clear trade-offs. Strengthening the fit involves a continuous process of refinement. You must constantly ask how you can make the links between your activities even stronger. More importantly, it requires the discipline to make conscious trade-offs, which means deliberately choosing not to do certain things. Strategy is as much about what you choose not to do as it is about what you choose to do. The low-cost airline makes the trade-off not to offer meals, not to transfer baggage, not to have assigned seating, and not to use travel agents. Why? Because doing any of those things, while potentially appealing to some customers, would compromise its core activities of speed and efficiency. It would require more complex processes, slower turnarounds, and higher costs, thereby weakening the entire interlocking system. A company committed to its strategy must be willing to walk away from seemingly profitable opportunities if they do not fit the system. This disciplined refusal to compromise is a hallmark of great strategic management. Finally, you must communicate the system throughout the entire organization. It is not enough for senior leaders to have this map in their minds. Every single employee must understand not just their own specific job, but how their work fits into the larger strategic system. The gate agent at the low-cost airline needs to understand that their efficiency in boarding passengers is not just a task. It is a critical link in the chain that allows the company to offer low fares. When people see how their contribution fits into the bigger picture, their work gains meaning, and they become empowered to make better, more consistent decisions that reinforce the strategy. The Swedish furniture giant IKEA provides a masterclass in this. Their low-cost strategy is supported by a perfectly integrated activity system. Their signature flat-pack furniture design reduces shipping and inventory costs. Their large, warehouse-style suburban stores lower real estate and staffing expenses. Their in-store catalog and display setup minimizes the need for sales associates. And, most famously, requiring customers to pick up their items and assemble the furniture themselves outsources a huge and costly part of the labor process. Each activity makes the others possible, creating a unique and defensible system that competitors find nearly impossible to unravel and copy. You have now designed a unique interlocking system that brings your strategy to life. But even the most perfectly designed system is vulnerable. It exists in a dynamic world with rivals who are constantly watching, learning, and plotting their next move. What happens when they inevitably try to copy your most successful activities? How do you build a fortress around your strategy so that it doesn't just work today, but endures for years, even decades to come? Creating a truly lasting legacy. The answer lies in making that advantage sustainable. Remember to subscribe to Success Attraction Formula, give this video a like, and comment with your personal opinions or suggestions for channel development. Chapter 5. Creating Sustainable Competitive Advantages. A competitive advantage is not a trophy you win and place on a shelf to admire for all time. It is a living, breathing fire that you must constantly and diligently tend. Left alone, starved of fuel and attention, it will inevitably flicker and die out, leaving you cold and vulnerable in the unforgiving wilderness of the marketplace. This is a truth that countless companies have learned the hard way. They achieve a period of great success, perhaps on the back of a brilliant innovation or a hit product, and they begin to believe their own legend. They mistake a temporary victory for a permanent state of superiority, and so the fire of their advantage slowly dies, ember by ember, until only the cold ash of past glory remains. This leads to one of the most common and heartbreaking problems in business, the fleeting nature of success. A company can be the darling of its industry one year, celebrated for its rapid growth and impressive profits, only to become a cautionary tale a few years later. Consider a hypothetical company that creates a revolutionary piece of software, a one-hit wonder that perfectly meets a market need. For a year or two, they are unstoppable, but their advantage is based on a single product. Competitors, seeing their success, quickly reverse engineer the software's features. Larger rivals with established distribution channels launch a good enough version and bundle it with their existing products. A key patent expires. The brilliant engineers who created the original software leave to start their own new venture. Suddenly, the company that was once the leader is just one of many players in a crowded market. They are left scrambling, trying to recapture the magic, but they find the world has moved on. They failed to understand that achieving a competitive advantage is only the first step. The true challenge, the mark of a truly great enterprise, is making that advantage sustainable. The transformative solution requires a profound mindset shift, moving your focus from simply finding an advantage to deliberately building a sustainable advantage. Sustainability does not come from having one single secret ingredient, because any single ingredient, no matter how special, can eventually be analyzed, copied, or replaced. True, lasting advantage comes from the complexity, the fit, and the mutual reinforcement of your entire activity system, as we discussed in the last chapter. It comes from creating a strategic fortress so intricate and well-designed that rivals look at it and conclude that the cost and complexity of trying to storm the walls are simply too high. A sustainable advantage is one where the whole is so much greater than the sum of its parts that even if a competitor could copy every single part, they still could not replicate the magic of how they all work together in perfect harmony. This system is the deep, underlying source of endurance. There are several powerful forces you can harness to make your advantage endure, creating true strategic moats. The first, and most important, is the power of fit and trade-offs we have discussed. When your activities are tightly interlocked, they create a defensive web. A competitor might try to copy one or two of your successful practices, but doing so often creates conflict within their own existing system. Imagine a traditional full-service airline trying to copy a low-cost carrier's practice of not serving meals. It seems simple, but it would anger their existing base of business-class customers who expect full service. It would conflict with their brand image, their catering contracts, and their cabin crew training. The trade-offs the low-cost carrier made, sacrificing service to gain efficiency, are precisely what make its system so difficult to imitate without a full-scale, painful overhaul. The complexity of this fit creates a powerful barrier to imitation, protecting your profitability and position over the long term. A second critical element of sustainability is building a powerful brand. A brand is not just a logo or a name. It is the collective sum of all experiences, perceptions, and emotions that customers have about your company. A strong brand, built over years or even decades of consistently delivering on a specific value proposition, creates a deep, emotional connection with customers that transcends logic and features. On a psychological level, brands serve as a mental shortcut, reducing the cognitive load for consumers. In a world of infinite choice, a trusted brand signals quality, consistency, and reliability, making it a safe and rational choice. Think of a brand like Coca-Cola. For generations, they have delivered a consistent product, backed by marketing that associates their brand with happiness and togetherness. This creates an immense moat of loyalty. A new soda company could create a beverage that wins in a blind taste test, but they cannot easily replicate the century of trust and emotional resonance built into the Coca-Cola brand. This brand loyalty reduces customer price sensitivity and makes it incredibly difficult for newcomers to gain a foothold. A third source of sustainability lies in creating and leveraging customer switching costs. A switching cost is any cost, whether it be financial, procedural, or psychological, that a customer incurs when they change from one supplier to another. The higher the switching costs, the more locked in your customers are, and the more sustainable your advantage becomes. We can break these down into three types. First are financial costs, such as having to buy new equipment or pay a penalty to terminate a contract. Second are procedural costs, which involve the time and effort required to learn a new system, retrain employees, or change existing business processes. A classic example is the enterprise software that runs a company's finances or operations. The disruption of replacing it is so immense that companies will stick with a current provider even if a competitor's offering is slightly better. Third are relational costs, such as losing trusted relationships with a dedicated sales or service team. By consciously building these costs into your offering, you make it painful for a customer to leave, rendering your advantage far more secure. Fourth, and perhaps most powerful in the modern digital economy, is the force of network effects. A network effect occurs when a product or service becomes more valuable as more people use it. This creates a powerful self-reinforcing cycle of growth, a virtuous feedback loop. We can identify two main types. Direct network effects are the simplest. Each new user directly increases the value for other users. A telephone or a social media platform like Facebook becomes more useful as more of your friends and contacts join. Indirect or two-sided network effects are more complex but just as powerful. They occur in platforms that connect two different groups of users, like buyers and sellers on eBay or riders and drivers on Uber. More riders attract more drivers to the platform, which in turn reduces wait times and improves service, thereby attracting even more riders. This dynamic often leads to a winner-take-all market where the largest network becomes almost impossible to dislodge. A new platform might have better features, but it is useless without a critical mass of users on both sides. Once a company has established a powerful network effect, its competitive advantage becomes incredibly durable. By weaving these elements, a complex activity system, a powerful brand, high switching costs, and network effects, into the fabric of your strategy, you move beyond temporary success. You begin to build an enterprise that is designed not just to compete, but to endure. You build a fortress with layers of defense, a true strategic moat that protects your profits and your market position for the long term. You have now built a unique system and made it sustainable. You are protected. But what is the final step on this journey? What if defense is not enough? What if the ultimate expression of strategy is not just to build an unassailable fortress, but to project your power so effectively that you begin to write the very rules of the game for your entire industry, forcing others to play on your terms? The final evolution is from defender to leader. Remember to subscribe to Success Attraction Formula, give this video a like, and comment with your personal opinions or suggestions for channel development. Chapter 6. Achieving Long-Term Market Dominance and Leadership. Imagine a grandmaster of chess, a player who has not only mastered every known opening, every mid-game tactic, and every endgame scenario, but has achieved something far more profound. Imagine this player, through their deep understanding and brilliant play, begins to fundamentally change the game itself. They popularize new strategies that are so effective that all other grandmasters must now dedicate themselves to studying and countering them. They move beyond simply playing the game at the highest level. They are now shaping its very evolution. This is the final and highest stage of strategic mastery in business. It is the transition from being a strong competitor or even a protected market leader to becoming the architect of your industry's future. It is about moving from simply defending your position to actively and consciously shaping the entire competitive landscape to your lasting advantage. This is the ultimate expression of strategic power. The most insidious problem that faces a company that has already achieved a strong, sustainable competitive advantage is complacency. Success breeds comfort, and comfort is the enemy of continued greatness. The company becomes a dominant force, its profits are stable, and its market share is secure. A dangerous arrogance begins to set in. Leaders start to believe they are invincible. They stop listening as closely to new customers. They dismiss small, upstart competitors as irrelevant, and they slow their pace of innovation, preferring to optimize their existing successful model rather than risk resources on the uncertain future. This is the mindset that led the dominant photography film companies of the 20th century to largely ignore the rise of digital imaging, viewing it as a low-quality toy. They became prisoners of their own success, so focused on protecting their profitable film business that they failed to embrace the future. This is the moment of greatest vulnerability, for it is precisely when a company believes it cannot be challenged that it is most ripe for disruption. A new technology, a shift in social values, or a determined competitor with a new business model emerges from a blind spot, and the once dominant leader finds itself hopelessly behind, a titan on the verge of collapse. The transformative solution is to cultivate a mindset of productive paranoia. This is the disciplined belief that no matter how successful you are today, you are always just one step away from being overtaken. A true market leader uses their position of strength not as a cushion to rest on, but as a platform from which to launch the next wave of innovation. They understand that their powerful activity system and their defensive moats are assets that must be constantly maintained, strengthened, and even rebuilt. The leadership mindset is one of perpetual motion, a restless drive to make your own products and methods obsolete before a competitor does it for you. It is about channeling your profits and resources not just into defending the present, but into aggressively inventing the future. This internal drive to continuously improve from a position of strength is what separates the merely successful from the truly dominant, legacy-defining enterprises. It requires courage to disrupt your own profitable business, but the alternative is to let someone else disrupt it for you. Achieving this state of dynamic leadership involves several key actions. First is an unwavering commitment to continuous innovation. A market leader never stops improving its activity system. They are their own harshest critic, constantly questioning their own assumptions and looking for better, faster, and cheaper ways to deliver their unique value proposition. They must overcome what is known as the innovator's dilemma, the challenge successful companies face when deciding whether to invest in new, potentially disruptive technologies that might undermine their existing profitable business. A true leader finds a way to do both, to protect and optimize the core business while simultaneously funding and nurturing the experiments that could become the future core business. They create a culture where experimentation is encouraged and where failure is seen as a necessary byproduct of pushing boundaries, a tuition paid for learning. This relentless pace of internal innovation makes it nearly impossible for slower-moving competitors to ever catch up. Second, a true leader moves beyond simply reacting to their industry structure. They begin to actively shape it. Using their scale and influence, they can change the five forces to their advantage. They can set new industry standards for technology or quality that become a barrier to entry for smaller players who cannot afford to comply. They can create powerful new distribution channels that they control, raising a new wall around their business. They might invest heavily in public relations and government lobbying to encourage regulations that favor their business model. For example, a leader in electric vehicles might lobby for stricter emission standards that disadvantage traditional automakers. Or a software giant might make its programming language an open standard, encouraging a wide ecosystem of developers to build on its platform, thus strengthening its network effect. They are no longer just playing the game. They are using their power to influence the very rules and layout of the board itself. Third, market leaders use strategic acquisitions as a tool to further their dominance. They do not just buy other companies for the sake of getting bigger in an act of empire building. Their acquisitions are targeted and purposeful, designed to strengthen their core strategic system. They might acquire a small, innovative startup to gain access to a promising new technology or a team of brilliant engineers, integrating that capability to strengthen their core business. They might purchase a company to gain entry into a new geographic market or to gain control over a key part of the value chain, such as a critical supplier. In some cases, they may even acquire a potential future competitor, not just to eliminate a threat, but to absorb its unique strengths into their own ever-evolving system. A good strategic acquisition is one that improves the fit of the leader's activity system, making the entire company stronger and its advantage more sustainable. Ultimately, all of these actions are driven by a unique leadership mindset. The leaders of these dominant firms cultivate a culture that profoundly rejects complacency. They celebrate success but immediately focus on the next challenge. They foster a long-term perspective, making investments that may not pay off for 5 or 10 years, while their rivals are trapped by the pressure to meet next quarter's earnings targets. A company like Amazon perfectly embodies this. It began as an online bookstore, but used its leadership position and the cash flow from that core business to relentlessly innovate and enter new domains. It turned its internal expertise in managing massive server infrastructure into a new business, Amazon Web Services, AWS, which now dominates the cloud computing industry. It built a logistics network for itself and then began offering it as a service. At each stage, it used its strength to reshape the industries it entered, setting new standards for price, convenience, and technology that competitors have struggled to match. This is the pinnacle of strategy, using the advantage you have today to build the industries you will dominate tomorrow. Strategy, therefore, is not a final destination. It is not a plan to be achieved and then retired. It is a continuous dynamic process of analysis, action, innovation, and evolution. It is the art and science of building an enterprise that is not just successful in its time, but is truly consequential, shaping the world around it and building a legacy of enduring leadership. We began this journey by learning to see the hidden forces that shape our industries. We discovered how to choose a unique position on the competitive battlefield and how to commit to a fundamental strategy of either cost or value. We then transformed that choice into a living, interlocking system of activities and built powerful moats to make that system sustainable against the relentless attacks of rivals. Finally, we have reached the pinnacle, the evolution from a mere defender of a position to a true market leader, an enterprise that not only wins the game, but actively shapes the rules for all who play. This is the full arc of strategic mastery. It is a path from vulnerability to security and from security to dominance. It is a playbook not just for competition, but for lasting leadership. Thank you for taking the time to journey through these principles. We hope you found this exploration valuable. To continue learning with us, please consider liking this video, sharing your thoughts in the comments, and subscribing to the Success Attraction Formula channel.